My mom stole my boyfriend. Now he's my stepdad. And they just had a baby. Yeah, it's as messed up as it sounds. Let me tell you how it all went down.
Hey everyone, real quick before we jump in, the channel's been slowing down a bit, and your support really helps. If you haven't already, hitting that subscribe button is a small way to make a big impact. It's free, takes a second, and helps us keep making the content you enjoy. Thanks so much. Now let's get into it.
It all started like the setup to a teen rom-com. The kind of movie you watch at a sleepover and roll your eyes at thinking, okay, sure, like that would ever happen in real life. But for me, it wasn't fiction. It was real. It was messy. And it tore my entire world apart. I was 19, barely an adult, newly graduated, stuck in that weird space between childhood and everything else. My friends were scattering across the country for college, excited for dorm life and campus parties. Me, I stayed in our small town, juggling a part-time job folding overpriced denim at the mall and pretending I had a plan. I didn't. But one thing I knew for certain, I was head over heels for Josh. Josh was 24. Older, confident in that casually disheveled way, with the kind of charm that made baristas remember his order and old ladies stop him on the street to comment on his smile. He worked at the corner coffee shop, the one with the mismatched chairs and fairy lights in the window. He wore threadbare band tees, smelled like espresso and pine, and always had a beat-up Polaroid camera slung over his shoulder. He took pictures of everything: cracked sidewalks, rusted fences, rain on window panes. And sometimes, me. Me laughing with whipped cream on my nose, me biting my straw in concentration, me looking at him like he hung the moon. And Josh looked back, really looked, like I wasn't just another girl with a crush, but something rare and electric. He'd send me songs at 2 a.m. and write half poems in my notebooks. It was intense, chaotic, and intoxicating. It felt like the start of a story we'd tell our future kids. Then there was my mom, Tracy, 39, with perfect skin, killer cheekbones, and more Instagram followers than I had classmates. Everyone called her the cool mom, and she wore that title like a designer jacket. Morning Pilates, green smoothies, weekly manicure appointments, and a wardrobe that screamed effortless style. She was the woman people turned to for advice, for recipes, for where to get the best under-eye serum. And despite her polished exterior, she had this easy, sarcastic charm that made everyone, teachers, neighbors, my friends, adore her. We were close, really close. The kind of mother-daughter dynamic that people envied. We shared clothes, went on spontaneous Target runs, watched bad reality shows while eating popcorn out of the same bowl. She used to call us a team. She used to say we were more like sisters than anything else. So when I brought Josh home one afternoon to meet her, I wasn't nervous. If anything, I was excited. I wanted her to see what I saw, that Josh wasn't just some guy with a camera and a latte addiction. He was thoughtful, funny, someone who made me feel special in a way no one else had. But the moment they locked eyes, something changed. Tracy gave him that slow, dazzling smile, the one that made men stumble over their words, pun, and said, "So, this is the barista prince you've been hiding?" She extended her hand, held his a beat too long, and winked. I laughed awkwardly. Josh blushed. And that was the beginning. What came after? The long glances, the shared inside jokes, the sudden interest my mom took in coffee shops. I tried to ignore. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking, that she was just being friendly, that Josh was just being polite. But now I know better. Now I know that was the moment the story shifted. That was the moment I should have paid attention. At first it was subtle, barely noticeable, like a change in air pressure you feel more than see. Just small things I could brush off if I squinted hard enough, which I did constantly because the alternative was too painful to consider. Like how Josh started showing up even when I hadn't invited him. I was just in the area, he'd say casually, holding up a bag of artisan coffee beans or a vintage vinyl like it was some kind of neutral peace offering. Tracy, my mom, would light up like Christmas morning. Her laugh would go up a pitch, her voice suddenly brighter, like his surprise visits had transformed her day. They started talking more, longer, about things they had in common. Music, film, photography. He mentioned an old exhibit he loved, and Tracy gushed about how she used to model in college for a friend who did portraits. "You still haven't seen the Royal Tenenbaums?" she gasped once, dramatically clutching her chest like a theater kid. "Josh, You have to educate her. They laughed together, full-bodied, echoing laughs, and I sat there, a third wheel in my own living room, forcing a smile so tight my cheeks ached. Then it was the texts. I saw them once. By accident, truly. Josh had left his phone face up on the couch while he went to grab drinks. I wasn't snooping, not really. But the screen lit up, bright and unavoidable. Tracy, Mom. Just finished watching that doc you recommended. Blew my mind. We have to talk. We have to talk? Since when did they have inside references, private discussions, shared recommendations? Still, I told myself it was normal, that they were just bonding, that maybe it was good, Josh getting along with my mom. Most guys would have found her intimidating. Maybe this meant things were solid between us, that I had a boyfriend who could blend into my world seamlessly. I should have been happy, right? But the nights changed too. Josh and I still cuddled on the couch, but it wasn't the same. He pulled away quicker. The little rituals that made us started to vanish. No more surprise poems tucked into my pockets. No more 2 a.m. playlists curated just for me. The photos he took of me, once constant, stopped altogether. He posted moody street shots now. Abstract lighting, empty coffee cups, a photo of a sunrise over our backyard, but the angle? It had to be from her bedroom window. And Tracy, she changed too. Suddenly she was dressing differently when Josh was around. No more mom jeans and oversized cardigans. Now it was silk blouses, delicate jewelry, glossed lips. She once wore a backless sundress to our casual pizza night and acted like it was totally normal. What? It's hot out, she said with a shrug, sipping her wine like she was posing for a lifestyle shoot. But the worst part, the absolute worst, is that still trusted them. Trusted her, trusted him. I shoved down the feelings, folded them away like old receipts I didn't want to look at. I wanted to believe my mom wouldn't do this, that he wouldn't do this, that the bond I had with each of them was stronger than whatever tension I was beginning to feel. I'd tried to write it off, told myself I was overthinking, that I was just insecure, jealous, that they were both adults and maybe I was just too young, too clingy. But deep down, something in me was cracking. And then it happened. One night, I got home early from my shift. A surprise. I hadn't texted, just walked in through the side door. The house was quiet at first, but I heard music from the kitchen. Soft, jazzy. My mom's playlist. I tiptoed in, expecting to find her unwinding alone. But there they were. Josh and Tracy, side by side at the kitchen island, laughing over glasses of red wine, an open bottle between them. Her Spotify humming in the background. Plates of half-eaten takeout scattered like it had been dinner for two. She was wearing his hoodie, and he didn't even flinch when he saw me. Just smiled and said, "Hey, didn't know you'd be home so early." No guilt, no shame, just comfort. That was it. The moment the last thread snapped. The moment I stopped pretending everything was okay. That what I saw was something other than what it truly was. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there for a long time, then turned around and walked out. I wish I could say it was the end of it, but it was only the beginning. The morning after I saw them in the kitchen, I packed a bag. There was no confrontation, no dramatic exit, just silence. A suffocating, cold silence that had settled in my chest like smoke. I didn't say a word to either of them. No angry text, no teary goodbye. I just moved on autopilot, grabbing a duffel bag from under my bed and stuffing it with whatever my hands touched first. Jeans, hoodies, socks. The sweater Josh once said made me look cozy but powerful. That one stayed buried at the bottom. I tossed in my charger, my toothbrush, a journal, and left. It was barely 7 a.m. The house was still. Birds chirped outside like nothing had changed. But everything had. I took the bus across town to Sadie's apartment. She lived in a cramped but cozy 2-bedroom above a florist shop. And when she opened the door, bleary-eyed and messy-bunned, she didn't ask anything. Just stepped aside, pulled me into a hug, and handed me a blanket. That's what real friends do. They don't demand explanations. They don't press for stories. They just let you collapse safely. The next few days passed in a haze of caffeine, crying, and numb scrolling. I ghosted work, muted group chats. Every time I opened Instagram, it felt like stepping on a landmine. A song we used to dance to, a meme we'd laughed at, a filtered picture of a latte, just like the ones Josh used to make me. I couldn't escape the feeling that every piece of my life had his fingerprints on it. And the kitchen scene kept replaying, her in his hoodie, him looking at me like I'd interrupted something sacred. The softness in their body language, the ease. It haunted me. I wasn't just angry, I was disoriented. It was like someone had quietly replaced the people I loved with strangers who shared their faces. On the fifth day, the numbness cracked. I sat on Sadie's couch, her cat curled against my leg, and finally texted Tracy. Just one sentence. Are you sleeping with him? She replied within seconds. Can we talk in person? I didn't reply, didn't go home, didn't even tell Sadie. I just turned off my phone and crawled back into the nest of blankets, willing the world to forget me for a while. Sadie didn't push. She ordered takeout and queued up the movies until I laughed again. A broken, hiccuping sound that barely resembled joy, but it was something. Then came the photo. Sadie was the one who found it, casually scrolling Facebook on her laptop. She went pale and turned the screen toward me like she'd just discovered a crime scene. It was a photo from someone else's backyard party. Twinkly string lights, half-eaten charcuterie, wine glasses raised mid-toast. And there they were, Josh and Tracy, holding hands. It wasn't a blurry background shot or an accidental reflection. They were front and center, laughing, posing. Tracy's head tilted affectionately toward him, Josh's hand resting on her knee like it belonged there. My stomach dropped. Not because it was shocking, I think some part of me already knew, but because it was so normal, so casual. Like they'd been together for months, and everyone else was just catching up. That image said everything no apology ever could. I didn't cry right then. That came later, late at night, when Sadie had gone to bed and I was left alone in the dark with my thoughts. The tears weren't loud or cinematic. They were quiet, exhausted, the kind of crying that feels more like leaking than breaking. Because it wasn't just about Josh or Tracy. It wasn't even about betrayal, not entirely. It was about trust and how fast it evaporates, how fragile it really is. My mom had been my compass, my constant. Josh had been my safe place. And now they were each other's. I was the outlier, the discarded variable. And the cruelest part? They looked happy. Like they'd found exactly what they wanted. Like I had simply been the bridge between them. And no one looks back at a bridge once they've crossed it. 2 weeks after that photo surfaced, the one where my mom and Josh looked like a Pinterest couple sipping wine and holding hands at a backyard party, I was still crashing on Sadie's couch. Her cat had basically adopted me. My stuff was in a sad pile in the corner of her apartment, the duffel bag half zipped, clothes forming a second, unspoken roommate. I hadn't unpacked because some part of me still hadn't accepted that I was staying, that this wasn't just a bad dream. The world outside didn't care that mine had collapsed. People posted dog videos, debated oat milk versus almond milk, fell in and out of love. Time kept moving. But for me, everything was stuck. Like I'd hit pause on my life and couldn't find the remote. Sadie tried. She'd bring me takeout containers and microwave mac and cheese, but it mostly ended up in the fridge, untouched. Sleep was worse. My nights were filled with loops of old conversations. Josh's voice saying he loved me, Tracy laughing over wine and telling me, "You're too young to settle down, babe." I'd scroll through texts, through Instagram stories saved from better days, trying to find proof that what I remembered had actually happened, that the people I loved hadn't always been strangers wearing familiar skin. Sadie finally sat next to me one night, her face serious in that best friend who will stage an intervention way. "You need to get it out. A voicemail, a letter, a rant, just something. Otherwise, it's gonna rot in you." I nodded. Later that night, I recorded a voice memo. I didn't plan it. Just opened the app and started talking. I told the invisible microphone everything, how I felt like I didn't matter, like I was an extra in the movie of my own life. I talked about how Tracy used to braid my hair when I was sick, how Josh once drove an hour to bring me lemon muffins when I had cramps, how the betrayal didn't feel like a stab. It felt like watching my house burn down while they toasted marshmallows in front of it. I sobbed through some of it, laughed once when I remembered how Josh couldn't cook anything without burning garlic. I said things I don't even remember now. Then I hit delete. I didn't need it saved. I just needed it out. A week after that, I moved out of Sadie's, found a tiny sublet near the art school I had deferred from, a fourth-floor walk-up with peeling wallpaper and a balcony that barely fit a chair. I started walking everywhere, headphones in, blasting breakup anthems and sad girl ballads. I made a playlist called Healing But Petty and played it on repeat. I signed up for a pottery class I never intended to finish. I read romance novels where moms stayed in their damn lanes. I was healing, or at least pretending to. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, it happened. I ran out of oat milk and wandered into the grocery store 3 blocks from my new place. And there they were, Tracy and Josh, in the pasta aisle, casual, comfortable, laughing about some sauce brand. She held a basket, he reached for a jar of arrabbiata like it was a scene from a domestic sitcom. And then I saw it, her belly. A bump, not huge, but definitely there. She was pregnant. My mom was pregnant, with my ex-boyfriend's baby. I dropped the oat milk, left the cart where it stood, walked out like I was being chased. I barely made it home before my knees buckled and I ended up on the floor, back against the door, trying to breathe through the hurricane inside me. Because this wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was legacy. Josh, the boy who once kissed my forehead and said, I made him believe in soulmates, was about to become my stepdad. And I was about to have a sibling. Or worse, a little half me. A breathing reminder of every choice they made. That night, something inside me finally gave way. I didn't cry the way I used to. Not loud or desperate, just quiet, steady, like a slow leak that finally emptied the tank. I used to think betrayal was a blade, something sharp, but this was erosion, a slow wearing down of everything I thought was solid. And as I sat there, staring at the chipped paint on my wall, one truth anchored itself in my chest. Even bridges once burned don't rebuild themselves, and I was done letting people walk all over me. 3 months later, my phone buzzed with a message that made my stomach flip in that deep, quiet way where you just know nothing good follows. Hey, just wanted to let you know. We had the baby. His name is Aiden. No punctuation, no apology, no context. Just that. I stared at it for what felt like an hour. The screen didn't blur from tears. I didn't even cry. I just locked the phone and set it down like it was a ticking bomb. Not in a dramatic hurl across the room way, more like I've run out of energy to be shocked by anything you do. They had a baby, a whole, living, breathing baby. A tiny human with 10 fingers and 10 toes and a last name that used to make my heart flutter. And that baby had a nursery, a birth certificate, and 2 parents who had once told me they loved me, separately. And now, technically, Josh was my stepfather. Tracy was his wife. And Aiden? That was my half-brother. Try saying that 3 times fast without choking. The math didn't just hurt, it stung, it mocked me. It felt like trying to do algebra on a roller coaster. Nauseating, senseless, dizzying. The reactions rolled in fast. Sadie FaceTimed me with a look that could melt steel and said, okay, but what? My cousin Marlene texted me an entire chain of shocked face emojis. My aunt in Seattle? She sent a bottle of Malbec with a handwritten note. Not sure if this fixes anything, but it'll make dinner taste better. Even my dad, Tracy's ex-husband, called and left a message. It was awkward and stilted and ended with, do you want to come visit for a bit? Or forever? But I didn't answer any of them. Not that day, not for a while. Instead, I let it sit. I let the weight of it anchor me to the silence. I pulled the threads of the timeline apart. The parties, the late texts, the nights Josh said he was just grabbing dinner with a friend. And I didn't question it. The way Tracy suddenly had girls' nights, but came home smelling like his cologne. And now, this baby named Aiden existed. A tiny, innocent time bomb that detonated everything I thought I knew about loyalty, love, and my own family. I imagined the holidays. Josh carving the turkey while Tracy laughed at his bad jokes. Baby Aiden dressed in matching PJs with Santa's Gil's favorite stitched across the chest. The unspoken tension at every dinner table. Me smiling through my teeth like my molars weren't grinding down into powder. Would Aiden call me sister? Would Tracy force him to say auntie to make it sound cuter? Would I be expected to babysit while they had wine nights and congratulated themselves on their modern family dynamic? I could already see the Instagram captions. Family isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Cozy nights with my boys, this. From chaos came something beautiful. I wanted to scream, so I did something better. So I did. I blocked Tracy's number, muted Josh on every platform. I took a walk, headphones in, hoodie up, middle finger to the universe, and bought myself the biggest overpriced oat milk latte I could find. I sat in the park, stared at pigeons, and let the rage melt under the quiet hum of traffic and children laughing in the distance. That day, I made a promise. I didn't owe them grace. I owed myself peace. Peace didn't mean pretending to be okay. It meant drawing a line, not showing up to Thanksgiving, not replying to their texts, not playing the role of the bigger person in a story I never agreed to. Peace meant therapy, cutting my hair, deleting old photos, reclaiming the playlists that once reminded me of Josh. It meant redefining family. Now and then, their photos still popped up in group chats or tagged posts I forgot to mute. Tracy smiling with that signature wine glass tilt. Josh holding baby Aiden with a look of joy I once thought was only mine to witness. Aiden, cheeks rosy, dressed in tiny sneakers. But I didn't flinch anymore. Because while they built a life together on the ashes of mine, I was building something stronger. Something real. A version of me that didn't need their approval. A path that didn't lead back to them. A future where I wasn't defined by the wreckage they left, but by the way I rebuilt. And maybe, just maybe, that's the best revenge. Because yes, my ex is technically now my stepdad, and yes, I have a baby brother who proves it. But guess what? I have myself, and she's finally starting to feel whole again. So now you know, my mom stole my boyfriend, he became my stepdad, and I have a brother I never asked for. But here's what I want to ask you. What would you have done? Would you have confronted them? Cut them off? Forgiven them? Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted most but just, and did you ever get closure? Let's be honest, but family isn't always blood. And sometimes the hardest part isn't the betrayal. It's choosing whether to carry it or let it go. So now I'm turning the mic to you. Tell me your story. Tell me how you survived the unthinkable. Or if you're still in the middle of it, just know you're not alone.